for Black America, it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere.
We're listening to, this is a little Terrace Martin. It's his Impedance EP. The song is All I Own. Dope little track. I wouldn't mind seeing a Terrace Martin versus Robert Glasper versus. I know that's like a very niche, specific group of musicians and people who enjoy music, but I think that jump will be dope. I mean, they definitely roll in the same lane, you know? Kat, how did you feel about the Bounty Killer versus Beanie Man battle last night?
It was fun.
Shout out to all my yardists. Almost there. My pop twas gonna be right one day. Watch, you know what I'm saying?
It's not gonna be right. Just give
Wagwan!
It's so slow.
Blah, 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 blah.
I'm embarrassed.
You're embarrassed?
Yes.
Try, you know.
Just don't try. Just be American.
Look, we got a cool show for you guys today. We got a few things to cover. Everything from voting to Biden's conversation with Charlamagne the God on the Breakfast Club. Even gonna talk a little bit about parenting, trying to parent sexuality. So, Bayelisa, what's up? How you doing? Tacoma, Washington in the building. Hope you guys are enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. We're actually gonna talk a little bit about Memorial Day towards the end. I wanna kind of expel some stuff out for folks. Hence why I never say Happy Memorial Day. Right? So we're not going to prolong too much longer. We're about to get into it. You know, I wanted that Terrace Martin to play for a little bit. I like that jump, man. That's a hot little track right there. But yeah, let's get into it. So, welcome back, everybody. Happy to see y'all all here. So let's go through some current news real quick. Looks like more states are starting to open back up, right? We were out at a park today at a birthday celebration, but we were all practicing proper social distance guidelines. People had their masks on. People were clean and sanitary, right? No hugs, just air hugs, right? While we were celebrating, so we did it the right way. A lot of people at the park. I don't know if we would have that many people at the park typically, because you can't go out to eat. You can't go to the mall, you can't go to this play game. So I think there was way more people at the mark typically. Alright, so since you're going, IG was spinning. Oh, okay. Well, I hope IG will stop spinning for all of our IG watchers out there. Yeah, so yeah, the park, so it seems like more states are opening up. I know in Tennessee, I think the barbershops and the beauty salons are up. Looks like the churches are opening up.
Church?
You have President Trump is pro-Christian now. Air quotes, and he wants the churches to be back open. He said the churches are essential. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I might make some of the church people mad, but I'm a Christian. At least I identify that as the faith as which I practice, spirituality, whatever.
Church vote.
That's what it sounds like to me.
He's trying to get that
because there's nothing about his actions or the way he carries himself that would make me think he's pro-church. And then let's be honest. When it comes to the church being essential, it is, right? Shout out Kingdom Fellowship. They've been doing food drives every weekend, every Saturday, trying to feed. They've pretty much focused a lot of their monies coming into that food drive so that people are not food insecure. But then also, I think the church, if you really practice the faith, the church is bigger than the four walls that you reside in. If you are a follower of whatever faith, I don't care what you practice, you should be, practicing that within the confines of your house, if that's what you say you're about.
Hi, Allie.
Allie!
It's Allie. I'm with your mom.
Mama Hawkins, I see you. See you, Mama Jen. See you, Allie. Cleveland in the building! So yeah, but I think the church is bigger than just the four walls, right? It's about faith. It's about you living a life according to whatever faith you practice. I don't care what it is. And you don't rely on the building for your faith. The faith is something that most faiths, you practice it outside of the building. So I think that's something worth talking about. So I'm not rushing to get back into the building, I'm going to practice the faith while also practicing safe social distancing.
Well, I think it's because with states opening up, at the end of the day, states have to. We know we live in a capitalist society, so I think that a lot of states are opening back up because financially they're suffering, and the pandemic has not gone anywhere. I think that it's giving people a falsehood or a false sense of security, like, oh, things are opening back up, we're getting back to normal. No, we're opening back up because finances are suffering, and states want to be able to stay afloat, and businesses need to stay afloat. So just be cognizant, be cautious as you are engaging with others, because the pandemic is still here. It didn't go away magically. It's still here. So.
It's still here. They don't have a cure. They don't have a vaccine. So folks, please use your wits and your sense. Also, I'm excited about the versus battles. I know we talk about these like almost every weekend, but there's always something new going on. But shout out to yesterday's versus. Shout out to all my yardies. Right? Did I do it right that time?
No, you did not. Yo, stop trying to use the Jamaican accent. You sound crazy.
My dad's Jamaican. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know what you're doing.
Alright, I tried. But yeah, shout out to
Allie told him his accent is pretty bad.
Look, shout out to all the lovers of reggae music. They had Bounty Killer and Beanie Man.
Yep.
They both been in the business 20 years plus, all kind of hits. And this one was really cool because they were both in the same place at the same time.
I like it.
So you don't have to worry about somebody's connection is not messed up or whatever. It was just they were both there on Versus TV. I thought it was dope. It was like a real life show. I felt like I was watching them go dub for dub. No?
No.
Alright, well,
you sound, like the accent is so slow, it's just not authentic.
Oh, well, I tried. But it was dope. And then I'm looking forward to tomorrow. You have 112 versus Jagged Edge. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe in the building, shout out Clarksville, Tennessee. I see you.
Who do you think's going to win?
Between Jagged Edge and 112? I'm going 112 because I feel like every Jagged Edge song sounds alike. And they have the worst love song of all time.
Meet me at the altar in your white dress. We ain't getting no younger. We might as well do it.
Did you hear that? You might as well do it. Worst love song of all time.
Let's get married.
I definitely prefer 112 over. I mean, I don't like Slim's annoying voice.
I know. Ooh, yeah. What's the song? What's a good song for 112? I can't even remember.
I mean,
Peaches and Cream. I don't know why that one came first.
I can't stand his nasally voice, but it's gonna be still fun to watch it. I've been waiting for that. Everybody's been waiting to see this for a long time, so that's gonna be dope. A lot of people are not gonna be working tomorrow. It's a holiday, so I hope that lots of barbecue gonna be out there. If you're on barbecue, let's do it safely, social distance and all that. Keep your crowds to a minimum.
We got some burgers here. I guess we can roll them and put them in the oven because I don't have a grill.
Yeah, well, that's because the public grill here
is... Thanks, Mom. Thanks, maybe. Miss Denise.
Yeah, so, we'll do with it what we can. But I hope you guys are being safe. I'm going to go over this more towards the end of the video, but we don't say Happy Memorial Day. Remember, Memorial Day is not to commemorate those who have served so much in the military. That's Veterans Day. Memorial Day is more or less to commemorate those who have fallen in service to their country. Yeah, so when you think about Crispus Attucks, he died serving our country. When you think about all the folks who have gone to Iraq and they haven't come back home whole, right? Memorial Day is for those individuals.
Oh, you mean those who have died and those who are injured or who have gotten injured because of war?
Yeah, I mean, because they're trying to broaden it to those who've been injured as well. But it's mainly for those who really have died. But you'll see a little extra, appreciation of service also to those who have been severely injured. But Veterans Day is really for those who are still alive or who have served the country. Memorial Day is for those who died in service to their country. This is
going to be an odd Memorial Day, being that we live in D.C. area, because normally people go to the monuments. There's flags everywhere. People are out. People are going to museums. And I feel like with social distancing, I mean, from what I hear, people are still going down to the monuments and having little picnics or little barbecues or hangouts or outings, whatever you want to call it. But it's going to be an odd vibe, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I don't know if they're doing the parade. I don't think they're doing the parade. And I know normally the motorcyclist, you have all the various motorcyclists come out normally for Memorial Day to, honor those who died and sacrificed to the country or in service to the country. I don't know if they're going to be doing that this year because they don't really want the crowds out. So that will be interesting. But shout out to anybody, and we'll revisit this again, but shout out to anybody, if you know anyone who died in service to their country, or anyone who died serving. You know, our thoughts and prayers with those families. And we want to shout out those heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. So let's get down to the nitty gritty, folks.
Okay.
Today we're talking about voting, we're talking about Biden, and we're going to talk about some parenting when it comes to sexual themes. So let's start with the first one. Let's talk about black voting. Well, before we get more so into like voting black, let's talk about the thing that spurred this conversation. For those that haven't seen it, recently Joe Biden was on The Breakfast Club. He was actually one-on-one with Charlamagne the God, I guess, for scheduling reasons. He was only technically there with Charlamagne, but it went under the heading of The Breakfast Club. So they have this interview, and for those that don't know who Charlamagne the God is, he's known for being someone who will ask the hard questions. You know, they talk about how he makes people, you know, he'll put folks on the spot. Now, despite all of this and the controversy of The Breakfast Club being the most dangerous morning show, you still have all of the Democratic hopefuls that stopped through. Even back in 2016, we saw that Hillary was there. She did about a 40-minute conversation. She went back twice. And then you have Andrew Yang's been there. You have Buttigieg was there. Anybody who was anyone that was going for the Democratic ticket, they had made their way through The Breakfast Club and had a decent time. And the reason why it's so important that they was at The Breakfast Club is because The Breakfast Club does represent hip-hop, a certain generation of those that listen to hip-hop. It represents a lot of young people.
It just represents the culture.
And yeah, and those in the culture, and you're talking about, once again, it represents black media as well, right? Too often when we see these kind of elections, people kind of skip past black media. And it's important that if you're claiming you have the black vote, you need to be vocal on places where you're going to primarily deal with the black community, and The Breakfast Club would be the Breakfast Club would be one of those outlets. So let's get into it. So one thing he was asked about was the '94 crime bill, and Biden was kind of like, he was like, no, I oppose mandatory minimums. He says that, and this is true. I fact checked it. It is true that the Black Caucus wanted mandatory minimums, but the reason why they wanted mandatory minimums isn't so that we'll be in the state that we're in now. The idea was that if someone who looks like Joe Biden, as he stated, if someone who looks like Joe Biden commits a crime, let's say robs a liquor store, and if someone who looks like Charlamagne the God, a black man, robbed a liquor store, what was happening up until the '94 crime bill is that the white man would get considerably less time than the black man. However, the thing I didn't enjoy about this is Biden never actually recognizes the fact that the same crap is still going on. You still have a disproportionate reaction to crime. More than often, we see those white individuals in society or individuals with a lot of money get considerably less time than those offenders who are black or brown, right? And he's talking about it as if, like, I get it. There were black leaders out there, like the Jesse Jacksons and stuff of the world. They were calling for tougher crime. If anybody remembers DC back in the day, or probably any urban city in the Americas, there was a lot of crime going on. And I understand he tried to do what was right, but he has to admit that the '94 crime bill had some problems. And I felt like he danced around the issues within the '94 crime bill. Even though he may have meant right at the time, it's like he wasn't taking ownership, if that makes any sense.
He definitely did not take ownership.
Yeah.
He didn't take ownership for any question.
Exactly. I think he
Charlamagne asked him direct questions, and he would be like, yada, 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 oh, we don't have time.
Herman says that Joe Biden is way too far removed from black culture right now. We have Chris said, I thought Biden did a good job besides his past comment. Besides his last comment. We're going to be getting there too. And then Elisa says that, but his best friend is African American.
He literally said in the interview, I have the highest African American vote rate right now. I even have a higher percentage than Obama did. And it was like, okay, but what are you going to do for black people? I don't care about your percentage vote. I care about what is your plan of action for black people in this current date and time here in 2020. And I feel like time and time again, black folks vote for Democrats and they never have a plan of action. And it's like, you know, I just don't know what we're going to do with politics, because yet again, I am not happy with the candidates. I was not happy with Hillary and Trump, and now here we are with Biden and Trump. I'm still not happy. Personally speaking, I feel like there were other Democratic candidates that should have won over Biden, but here we are. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess for some reason they didn't pull up enough steam. Lana says politicians do not answer questions directly. Another question that was brought up during the Biden interview is, basically Charlemagne challenged him in the fact of, what are you doing to energize voters? Because he's kind of going about this thing like Hillary did in 2016. He has this assumption of votes, this assumption of support, and they asked him, like, why aren't you out? And I mean, yeah, good answer. He's trying to social distance.
I mean, come on, we almost in June.
That was something else that was brought up. One of the things that he promised, and specifically, he did promise a female running mate. He didn't say specifically she would be black.
And let's see if he delivers.
But I will say this: it needs to be a woman. And maybe I'm biased, but I feel like you have seeing what Kamala Harris did, right? She, for a while, was third place / fourth place along the polls. So that means she's polling well in some areas where he may need some help, right? And then Stacey Abrams, to almost win governor in Georgia, says that she's a strong candidate as well. So I do feel like he needs to take a really strong look at them, those two women in particular. I don't know why he's considering Klobuchar at all, because Klobuchar didn't do well during the general primary race anyways. I just don't see why you would look at her, and she rubs a lot of voters wrong. Let's go to some comments. Herman says, great clarification on the Memorial Day honors, by the way. Yeah, that's right. We talked about that, and we made that clarification on the phone not too long ago. Lana said he doesn't have a plan for the blacks. He doesn't need one. Think about it. Older adults who vote think differently than younger adults. That's true. We're going to get some more into that whole voting situation. Lisa said we don't hold them accountable and we need to start at the local level. You're absolutely correct. I can't agree with you anymore. Chris said that he took that opportunity to take Charlemagne head on. He'll have other opportunities to talk about our agenda. He may not get that chance again. He focused on writing his own narrative during the interview. Yeah, I agree with that. I think he was trying to control the conversation and the flow. Then also, Lana said, I think that Trial ran Stacey on the special he did, and she didn't do well either, although I love her. Yeah, there's definitely some concerns there. Let's kind of break down some of these comments. I do feel like Biden during that interview tried to control the narrative. I didn't like the fact that that interview is only 18 minutes long. Everyone else who's been on that media was there, and his reasoning as to why they rushed it. 10 minutes in, they're saying that's all the time they have. That's bullcrap.
He said he had to go see his wife.
No, he didn't have to go see his wife. He said that his wife had to use that room. Now,
For her interview.
Now, this is why I feel like this is crap. We live in a relatively small apartment, right? I mean, in retrospect to a house. And for some reason, if I was running for office and you had to do a talk, there's a living room and then there's a den. We can actually get both interviews off. You mean to tell me someone who is running for president, who has a whole house, doesn't have enough space for his wife and him to do an interview? There's not two places in your home?
I don't care.
That you can knock out that conversation?
I'm impartial about the time of the interview. My thing is, it's about...
Well, no, the time matters because then you can't really get down into the weeds of these conversations.
For me, the time does not matter because I'm about necessarily the quality of the answers. If we have short, succinct, direct questions and direct answers, I'm okay with an 18-minute interview. But he didn't do anything direct. He went around it. Well, if he would have just came and said, this is what I have planned, 1, 2, 3, and 4, similar to the debates. They give you direct questions in the debates, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
So 18 minutes to me will suffice. It's my time. He just didn't answer anything directly.
Yeah, he definitely danced around it. I didn't appreciate that. So let's move into another part of the conversation because you guys are already alluding to it. When we're voting, because the last comment he makes is, you're not black. Chris, you already alluded to this. He's like, if you're not voting for me, you ain't black. That's what he said. He talked about how he had the NAACP
he
supporting him.
Saying, you vote for Trump, you're not really with the black agenda. You really ain't with it.
Yeah.
And he kept saying man like 24/7.
Yeah, I think he was trying to be hip. But I wasn't appreciating it. Just be
yourself.
Like, here's the thing.
Like, yeah, man, bro. We don't talk that way. You don't talk that way. Just talk how you talk. You're not Obama.
But I would say that the American, and maybe you can say this about blacks. Maybe this, I don't like to make generalizations of any group. But I think what happens is, in the past, Clinton played a saxophone and had George Clinton at the White House, so that means he was down for the people.
Clinton was not an excellent president.
Hillary went around talking about Beyonce, and she has hot sauce in her purse. And too often Democrats feel like, oh, if I just shuck and jive a little bit,
if I pander,
yeah, exactly, black folks will vote for me. And I think what we need to change is, it's not, and I think this is what Nitty was getting at a few weeks ago, is it's not about blindly voting Democrat. And I'm not trying to say we take the Candace Owens approach and some of those folks and just blindly follow Trump because the Democrats haven't done their job. I think what it is, we disassociate ourselves from both parties and we say, you know what? I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're Southern, I don't care if you like country music or if you like rap music. What I do care about is how you earn my vote. And how do you earn my vote? Passing legislation that's going to help our community. Whether that legislation is actually passing a way for reparations, whether it's getting rid of these dog whistle laws such as stand your ground or citizen arrest, or if it's actually creating legislation to police the police when they indiscriminately go after black men, more so than anybody else, when there's an issue with how we're being charged over others. It's about, are you going to put in place legislation that defines what justice looks like for me? And I think that's how we need to change the narrative. When you guys talk about getting involved at the local level, it's about, okay, what laws do you need to put into place that benefits me? I think one thing that the LGBTQ community did well is they made it very clear to Barack Obama and anybody else in their jurisdiction or their town, justice to me is gay marriage. They made that very clear. Something that Martin Luther King did well in the 60s. They made it clear, my right to vote is what justice looks like to me. Desegregation is the laws or the legislation that needs to be put into place that looks like justice to me. I don't know if our current generation has those defined laws in place to say what we want. Let's go to some comments. Herman Altar said, folks are getting tired of the current two-party political, the current two-party political parties. Maybe it's time for a real third party, a real libertarian party, and a mixture of good liberals and conservative ideologies. I see that. Lana was laughing at comment you made, the pander. Yes, a lot of agreement on the pandering. Chris said, I think he was struggling to have a casual conversation, but also stand up to Charlemagne. But that's the thing, Chris. You don't need to worry about standing up to Charlemagne the God or being relatable. If you pass laws, I don't care if you're the most country, southern, you can be the most different person from me. Katrina don't like beats, I do like beats. But I don't think Katrina cares whether or not I like beats. As long as a politician, what she votes me in for, as long as I pass laws that ensure she won't be discriminated for her hair, I'll probably win her vote, whether I eat beets or not. You get what I'm saying? Too often, we're forcing our politicians to be relatable, and the issue is not relatability. The issue is, even if you can't relate, if we're telling you as constituents in your jurisdiction, this is an issue for us, pass laws that take care of that. And you may not ever like hip-hop music, you might think it's noise, but as long as you can pass laws that keep me as a black man from getting shot during a routine traffic stop, who cares if you don't like rap music?
Well, I think the passing laws is a two-way street, though. It's the politician following through, but it's us also voting. And if we're not showing up to vote, then they can't pass laws, because Obama did try to get some laws passed that would have benefit black folks, but by the time the House and the Senate, they got new membership in both places, they voted him out. So when it comes time to voting, we have to show up and we have to actually vote.
Katrina's right. We have to give our elected officials support, and the only way to really get them support is to vote. And then we have to communicate as well, right? You always talk a lot about communication. Matter of fact, during your last soapbox, you talked about communication and friendship.
Well, yeah, but
you have to communicate your ideals to your local officials.
But like I told Juan, most people that I come across, I speak from my own personal experience, they're not politically motivated. Most people don't care. They don't care. Most people are worried about their day-to-day, and in their mind, I'm just trying to have a job. I'm just trying to take care of my family. When the weekend comes, I want to drink and kick it because I don't feel like getting involved with politics. For most black people, politics haven't worked for us before, so why would it work now? For most black people, why would I trust anybody when they haven't honored their promise before? I get it. So most people don't care about social justice, social issues. When it comes to Trayvon Martin and people who are getting shot and killed, people don't care because it's like, well, that ain't my brother, that's not my family, so why do I care? And so it's we have a big challenge as a black community because we put so much pressure on politicians, but they only can do half of it. We have to show up to vote. In order for us to show up to vote, we have to cultivate a culture of wanting to be involved. And yeah, we have some celebrities that get involved, but some of them don't care. And I am realizing that you can't force someone to be passionate about something that they're not passionate about. And the only reason why I think people in the 60s knew what the agenda was because they were discriminated against. And I'm not saying that we need to get discriminated against, but I do find it ironic that in every time in history when things became extremely just outlandish for black people, to me, that's when we usually move collectively to change. The example, Emmett Till. Prior to Emmett Till, people the same way they were now. They ain't my household. They over there lynching the Johnson down the street. I'm gonna just be quiet. But once kids started to die, that's when people were like, all right, let me go ahead and try to get involved in social activism. So if you don't care, the politician's not going to care, and that's just what it is.
You can't wait till it comes to your doorstep. We got some good comments right here online. So we have Chris saying that, I guess he feels like he's an apologist, but he thought that the Biden interview was okay. My parents are telling me to go run for office. Maybe one day, we'll see. But right now, we got some folks we support, so we're trying to support them. Lana said, dividing us only makes it harder. We as a collective have a voice. That's why pandering is necessary. Most aren't researching candidates. That's a good point. I see some other points like that too.
I like that point.
Chris also made the point that most elections are popularity contests. Lana also said that if we come with an agenda, we as the blacks agree we have way too many topics between us that are divisive.
That's true.
Good point. Alisa talks about being apathetic towards others. Chris brings up a good point. He says, how many people know about their elected officials' legislative background?
They don't.
Herman makes a good point. He agreeing with Chris. This is how Trump got elected. Facts. Because, Trump winning was a popularity contest. They knew him from The Apprentice. People know he's a billionaire, so there's this false sense that because he's rich, he understands business. They thought that business acumen from the private sector would transfer over to how you manage a municipality, which is different. An example I use all the time, and it's spot on, is that's the difference between FedEx and the U.S. Postal Service. The U.S. Postal Service has an office in every zip code of the United States, whereas you can't find a FedEx in every zip code of the United States because FedEx is a business and their bottom line is profit. So therefore, it's not profitable to be in certain zip codes across the United States. However, the United States Postal Service doesn't run off profit primarily. It runs off the fact that it has a service to its constituents of the United States. So therefore, they're going to deliver mail and make sure there's a form of communication even to the most outward areas or outlying areas of the United States, right? So how I decipher the bottom line is very different on how I make a budget for people, even though it doesn't make financial sense. It may not make financial sense to take care of our elderly. But when you're looking at it from a municipality standpoint, there's a plan of action to help those that can't help themselves. Whereas at the job, if you don't perform, we fire you. Two different types of mentality. Just because someone is not performing to their max output as a citizen doesn't mean we fire them and say, okay, you go somewhere else because you're not putting up enough towards the American effort. That's not how America works when you're managing a municipality. So there was no transfer in that experience. And I think we need to think about that when we're voting. Let's go to some more comments. Chris said it should be different, but civic engagement is a lot of work. That's true.
It's a lot of work.
Lana said everyone has a different tipping point. True. Because some people will take more damage before they decide enough's enough. And then Chris said we need more good people running for office, stepping up in leadership positions. And then Lana shouts out USPS.
Can I make a comment to Chris? We need more people in leadership positions. Do you guys think that the reason why maybe people are not emerging is because of the cancel culture, right? We have a culture nowadays where in the event somebody were to look at your past and bring it to life, now all of a sudden you're canceled. We have this zero growth type of mentality. Like, it's to the point where I'm scared. If I was ever had the opportunity to be a celebrity, I would be scared because I feel like I'm opinionated. I feel like I may have posted something from way back when that I can't remember, and then somebody goes digging it up, and all of a sudden I am being crucified for the mindset of a young 20-year-old when I'm now in my 30s and I've grown and I've evolved. So the question is, are people scared to step into leadership positions because of social media and how we have this cancel culture? Mm-hmm. My assumption is that yes, we are really unforgiving. We tend to look at the person, we tend to go back and dig up the skeletons in a person versus looking at the person for who they are now and the vision they have and where they're trying to go. As an example, Irvin Max Johnson said that when he first found out his son was gay, he was like totally against it. Mm-hmm. But you see his interviews now, he's like, I've evolved, I understand that's who he is, I love him now. So I just feel like people can change and can grow and can learn to love and can have different experiences that make them have a different viewpoint now than they would have had in the past. And I feel like people make people suffer for their past viewpoints versus looking at how much they've grown to evolve. And at the end of the day, it's about evolution. At what point people didn't think black folks should vote, but here we are voting. Yeah. So it's about evolution, and we should celebrate the evolution of growth in one's mindset.
And and Mamie said that's good, Katrina. And also I think something that we have to consider as well too is, your vote doesn't define your blackness, right? The fact that you wake up every morning with this permanent tan, you're a black person, right? Let's just make that simple.
You mean melanin?
Yeah, that melanin, right? That's what makes you a person of color.
You mean the secret that black don't crack?
And the thing is, you're allowed to vote for whoever you want for. I mean, there's black people out there that's going to vote Republican, and that's not really an issue for me. My thing is that whenever you're voting, you should be voting self-interest. And I think that's going to help check the Democratic Party. Like for instance, in Maryland, we have a Republican governor that I think is doing an outstanding job, who I voted for, right? I voted for Hogan because I believe that Hogan is doing well for Marylanders. But Hogan doesn't blindly support the Republican Party. Like, he doesn't blindly follow Trump. He's actually been against a lot of things that Trump has put out. But as a governor, I think he's tried to put Marylanders first. Now, I don't agree with everything Governor Hogan has done, but I do feel like he's done right by Marylanders, and that's how he's earned my vote. It's not about, for instance, one thing that he signed into place was that people's stimulus checks could not be garnished by like child support or past due bills. That would be something that would seem more like a Democratic initiative, but Hogan had enough sense, despite him being a Republican, whatever you may want to think, he put that thing into place that's been helpful. And the way he's run Maryland as far as keeping the state shut down and the slow reopening of various things, he's moving like what some people would define as a Democrat. So once again, it's not about the party affiliation, it's about how are you earning and keeping my vote. What are you doing that helps me as one of your constituents?
Well, I do think that if we're gonna talk about this, let's talk about the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that people voted for Trump and will continue to vote for Trump because of two main reasons, in my opinion. Number one, financial interest. Black celebrities typically are quiet, and the reason why they're quiet is because Trump is going to advocate for the rich to be rich, for the rich to keep their money. So if I am a black celebrity and I'm making X amount of dollars, I'm not going to vote for the Democrats because the Democrats are probably going to tax me more. I'm going to vote for Trump so that I can stay rich. I don't care about the middle class or poor. I don't live in that tax bracket, so I'm relatable. I want to be able to keep all of my funds. And then number two, I think that Trump and most Republicans try to speak to Christian values, family, a man being a man, a woman being a woman. So all of your extremely religious people are people who are moved by religion. They're not going to separate issues that benefit them from a financial standpoint or from a racial standpoint. They're going to focus strictly on what the party looks like in alignment to husband, wife, kids, and they're going to vote for Trump. They're not going to look at it as Trump is not for black people. They're going to be like, well, I'm not voting for something that's too liberal, because at the end of the day, God talks about a man and a woman. And this is the reason why I always say religion has no business being involved in politics. It has no business. Because at the end of the day, politics is different than your religious beliefs. But as Christian people have a very tough time separating the two. Your bread and butter, how you live, your taxes, how you're able to advance in society, That is all politically based, and you really have to take your religious mindset out of it. How somebody else living in their house ain't got nothing to do with you.
And like to make it clear, right? It's one thing to say like, well, I don't want to vote for this person because they're pro-gay marriage. But at the same time, that person wants to raise taxes that's going to affect how you pay your mortgage. So then you got to weigh, but which one is more important? The fact that gays are going to be allowed to get married, or the fact that this person who's against it is going to raise taxes in such a way that I can't survive? You know, you got to really weigh out which one is more important to you. What's your North Star as a voter? Let's go to some comments.
It's about my business.
Christopher McKinney said that may be part of it. I think it has more to do with a weaker civic society than in previous generations. Also, people aren't aware of the opportunities that exist to be civically involved. Good point. Lana said, here is the thing. If you vote in self-interest, what do you put first? Black agenda, woman agenda, specific topics, etc. As we just talking. Alyssa brings out some good points too. He said he didn't even vote for Trump. He's been against him from the jump. And then Herman said, great points, Katrina. Problem is nobody cares about morals, past or present today. Look at Trump and his supporters. And then Christopher brings out another good point again about civic involvement. He said involvement in civic society can be a career path. I'm not sure many African Americans look at it that way. We see civic engagement as volunteer opportunity. It is a lot more than that. And that's true.
Well, yeah, it is.
Because there's people out there who make a living on sitting on various boards all the time. Like literally they sit on 6 or 7 different boards. Each one offers a stipend of $15,000 here, $20,000 here. Well, if you got 6 different things paying you $15,000 and $10,000 throughout the year, you're darn near making $100,000. And let's just be honest, $100,000, no matter where you live in the country, is decent money.
Can I be honest with y'all and transparent? Juan does a great job being passionate about politics and bringing it to the forefront. As of lately, I'm tired. I feel like when I am very vocal about how we need to shift our mindset and change, I feel like people don't care, and because they don't care, it's like, well, if you don't care, I don't care. I'm tired of I feel like I'm being beat up, or people like myself or Juan or whoever who are really vocal, we're getting beat up because people are like, we don't care about that. We just wanted to see a dance in a tap dance on stage. We just want to see Beyonce perform. We just want to see basketball. We just want to see football. We don't care about the hardships of life because we just want to enjoy life, and I get it. So for me, I have this spirit where it's like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I need a sabbatical from it all, and then I'll come back re-energized to help the community. But I get frustrated because in my mind it's like I'm at a place where it's like, if you don't want to help yourself, you can stay in the hood then. You want to be poor, then be poor. I see certain choices I can make for myself and my future and my life where I know it'll help benefit my family and generation, and I want more of us to come along. But I get frustrated when people are combative against decisions that benefit them and they are good for them, and yet we celebrate everything opposite of that. It's like, I just don't understand. I get tired.
We need to refocus on society, period. We live in a very different world now, and that's why we have to appreciate those. Shout out to anybody who's doing their civic duty. Shout out to anybody who will be bold and courageous enough to run for office. Shout out to anyone who will put the man beside him or the person that they can't see and appreciate that situation enough to say, you know what, I'm going to do something to support you. I mean, that's basically what Memorial Day is about. There are people over there who went to foreign land, folks even on this land who have died for their country in service through military. And that's why we commemorate them their Memorial Day, because that's the highest example of putting someone else before yourself. And not everyone who joins the military joins because they're super patriotic. Sometimes you're just going to support a family of 4. Maybe you're going because you need a better situation for yourself, but somewhere along the line, you end up benefiting those that you'll never see or have never met. And I think that's what civic duty is. It's not about what you're going to get out of it personally, and you may have your own reason as to why you vote, how you vote, and how you support your municipality, your state, or your country. But somewhere along the line, you end up touching someone else. We even got some amens. We going to church, I guess, right now, right?
No, I'm with you. I think that's exactly what it is. But okay, let's take for example, because I had a post about this. Nick Cannon. right? He has
I remember this post.
a family-friendly TV show. Yet and still, over and over again, people are like, he's corny. Why is he on air? Candy Burris is a multi-million-dollar businesswoman who has created multiple businesses and only employs black folks. I mean, she has some other people, but her primary focus is to employ black folks. People dogging her on social media. She corny. She's boring. She can't sing. I guess my thing is...
Meanwhile, people are still supporting Tekashi 6ix9ine for some reason.
I guess my thing is, why is it that every time you look around, I think I just ripped off my eyelash by accident. Why is it every time you turn around when black folks are trying to better the culture, create positive opportunities, create positive role models, Russell Wilson, we always dogging the person. Obama getting in office, people dogging him. Well, he ain't do this, he ain't do that. And then you ask them, well, did you even vote? No. I just, for me, I can't.
You don't really have anything to stand on.
I just can't.
Elisa made a funny comment too. She said, I joined for college money and ended up going to war. Talking about joining for the service. Same here. I actually joined for college money. They told me, oh yeah, National Guardsmen, you guys hardly ever get deployed.
I just can't do it with people. Like,
she mentioned the same thing. They do the same thing to Will Smith.
They do. We don't have enough positive role models. Black people love to complain. I'm being honest about our people. We love to point out everything that's wrong, and then when solutions come, oh, they corny. Well, why are they corny to you? And I think it's because we're so used to dysfunction. We're so used to not having the proper family structure in place that anything that's positive, that's actually good, and what we should be aiming for, we somehow celebrate the opposite.
I think Chris has a good word of encouragement for you. He said, keep hope alive, Kat. There are billions of people in the world. And
but we're not focused on billions of people. We're focused on black people in the U.S.
But with that focus, keep that in mind. And actually, there are billions of black people across the world.
Well, yeah, but I can't help somebody in Africa. I'm helping somebody right now.
But I think the lasting comment that needs to be put out to people to be encouraged is, while it is taxing, while it is hard, you make a good point. I mean, nothing you said was wrong. But we got to keep going, because I know somewhere along the line, the Rosa Parks of the world, the Kwame Tures, the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther Kings, these folks at some point got tired, right? But they kept going. And so if for any other reason that they kept doing it until the day that they died, surely we'll continue to find the strength.
No. That ain't my calling.
Well, don't say no, because for someone out there, they're encouraged. Let's go to some comments.
I'm telling you about me.
Hold up.
My calling. It's not my calling.
Lana, she said, we are in the crabs in the barrel theory, not looking outside the world they live in. Herman said, the poor will have with you always, poor in spirit, poor in mind. Christopher said, damn, I was trying to be encouraging. I know, Chris, I tried to end with an encouraging note. That shit got shot down. Pardon my language, but I'm just saying. Elisa said, I can't stand hearing someone say what a celebrity should do with their money. We can all do what needs to be done. That's right. There's an individual effort from us to do what we need to do. And then Herman said, yes, Katrina, don't give up on us. Good points. We got one more topic to hit, so let's go ahead and hit it. But we'll be happy to, encourage someone next to you. You know they've been doing the work. If you see somebody post something like Kat post, and you see people attacking her, if you see it, jump on that post and defend her, so that way she's encouraged to do the same. There are a lot of cats out in the world that try to put out something positive about someone, and there's always going to be 20, 30 people that jump on the post and they got something smart to say. If you see it, be that one person that says, no, let's celebrate the Nick Cannons, let's celebrate the Candy Burses or whatever. Someone be the voice of reason to support those that are trying to do right when you see them doing right. Lana said, Kat, I feel you. I'm on the transatlantic lineages, Jamestown, so those are the ones I want to help first. That's right. So, and sometimes your mission may start small and you work your way out. But if you see somebody trying to do right, support that individual. Give them an encouraging word and tell them to keep on going. Next subject we want to touch, and I know this is a little touchy, but we got to talk about it. So I wanted to talk about it last week, but we did our black trivia, so we didn't have enough time to really uncover it. So let's do it now. So, Little Boosie versus Dwayne Wade. For those that may not know, we may have to use some graphic language here during this portion. So if kids are watching, maybe want to avert their eyes at this point, definitely. Because I'm going to have to say some things with some colorful words so I can make it clear, okay? Just making everyone safe. So anyways, Little Boosie versus Dwayne Wade. So for those who don't know, back when the Wade first came out, what was this? End of last year time frame, early this year, he was talking about like supporting his son Zion, who wants to go by Zaya. He wants to identify as a woman now or a young lady, right? And you know, when that first came out, you see Zion or Zaya now, you know, is wearing like halter tops, you know, and various, you know, I guess, you know, clothing that I don't even think I would allow my 14-year-old to wear as a girl, right? So then, in an overt response, you have Lil Boosie saying, I'm not going to support my son doing this or being gay, but then he in turns admits on IG Live that he paid for someone to give his son fellatio, right? Mind you, his sons are what? Between the ages of 12 and 16, all right? So in this, everyone, what I seen on social media was the argument was either you need to be a father like Dwayne Wade or you need to be a father like Lil Boosie, because one prefers his son to be a straight man, one is supporting his son's choice to be a woman. My thing is, when we're talking about parenting and the conversation of sexuality, I just think certain conversations are too young, period, right? When you look at the Lil Boosie situation, what parent in his right mind technically allows his child to be sexually assaulted or introduces your child to sex? That's not something that a parent should do. Like Lana's saying, he paid for someone to rape them. Let's be honest. And I agree with you, Lana. That was very irresponsible as a parent. You don't give sex to your kids, your underage kids, or even if they're 35, you don't pay for someone to have sex with your child. At that point, that grown person, let them figure out that for themselves. Also, even if your child decides, okay, this is who I am sexually, okay, that's fine, but just because we're going to support you going whatever way, just because you identify as gay, there's still a such thing as underage sex. So it doesn't matter who you're attracted to, man or woman. If you're a young man, you shouldn't be having sex with little boys or little girls, period. I'm not even going to try to get into trying to tell somebody how to parent their child, but certain things are illegal, right? And children, period, I think we can all agree are not supposed to be having sex. Doesn't matter who they're having sex with. Why are you introducing sex to your children? And I feel like I understand that a person should be able to dress and style themselves any way they want to, but I wouldn't want my teenage daughter running around with a halter top right now and some booty shorts. Because I don't want, while no man should sexually assault her, I don't want to put her out on display to be sexually assaulted. And the same thing should work for a son, right? Why would you want your son sexualized in such a way that a predatory individual will see that and want to sexually assault them? And I know this is a very unpopular opinion, but versus getting caught up on the gender and what they like, because people are going to move whatever way they want. And as a Christian, I do recognize that in the Garden of Eden, God gave the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, meaning He allows people to make their own decisions. Now, if you come to church and you decide you want to follow that lifestyle, then that's a different conversation. Probably not one we're going to have on this platform. But for the sake of the over-sexualization of our children, America, we have a problem. I think that some of the themes that we're allowing kids to get into these days, I see the way that some of these little girls dance on TikTok and all of that, and I think we're allowing our children to be over-sexualized. I know this is a hot button. I know it's a scary topic. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we have a problem in America with allowing our kids to be over-sexualized. And I don't care what your rationale is or what side of the fence you're on with whatever. At the end of the day, I think we can find a common thread in saying introducing sex to our children is plainly wrong. Facebook, IG, I'd be curious to know your thoughts. I know this is one that people don't want to touch for the 6-foot pole, but I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Kat, I'd be curious to know your thoughts. She's like, I don't want to touch that one, and I'm part of the Nitty Gritty show. But I want to talk about that. Lana has a thought here. So Lana said, according to psychologists, I can read, y'all. I promise you I can. According to psychologists, you are not an adult until 25. This is a good point. D. Wade is being a supportive parent. That's it. He is allowing his daughter to learn how to be a girl in her own way. All right? And look, and if that's what D. Wade wants to do in his house, that's fine. I do think that sometimes, though, we introduce these sexual themes too fast. And Lana, this is what I mean by that. I'll use myself as an example. First time, and I'm going to say some colorful things, folks. Just brace yourself. First time I kissed a girl, I was 6 years old. And actually, I didn't kiss the girl kissed me. She was 10, right? And when she kissed me, she stuck her tongue in my mouth, right? And I remember when she kissed me, I didn't like it. Now, I can say personally, I wasn't gay. I don't think I needed somebody to come into my life and tell me and expose that kind of lifestyle to me, that sexual lifestyle choice. I just think someone, as a parent, the best thing to be told, and that's what I was told, was you too young to be kissing, right? By the time I was 12, I was okay with kissing girls. It didn't scare me, the idea of, trading spit, as they would say, right? But I wasn't ready to have sex or intercourse yet with a woman. I didn't lose my virginity until I was 18 and moved out of my parents' house. I tried to be somewhat respectful, even though they raised me to save it towards marriage. I waited till 18 when I had sex. And then even at 18, there were certain sexual acts with a woman I wasn't ready to perform yet, right? It is after age that it was like, okay, I feel comfortable enough to do this. But at no point was I willing to have, at no point was I'm saying I'm not straight, but there's a certain mental growth that I need in order to be willing to do certain sexual acts. You get what I'm saying? And there's certain maturity that Juan needed to take. I think sometimes we jump the gun when we start introducing sexual things to young kids. I think we need to allow kids to be kids and to, as Lana put out that psychologists have put out, and I've heard this before, most people don't mature mentally till they're 25, meaning, and even if you think about sex, how people have looked at sex from their late teens and early adult years versus what they mature to in their 30s and 40s, your thought process on sex at a 30-year-old or 50-year-old, 60-year-old is very different from how you viewed sex when you was 24. So why are we so quick to jump the gun and introduce these sexual themes to our children? I think we need to allow that to grow over time. I think there's a reason, if you're a Christian, why the Word of God admonishes that we wait to have sex until we're married. I just think some things we're just not mentally prepared for. Me as a parent, I just don't know if at 12-year-old a child is prepared to make sexual decisions. Mm-hmm. I don't think a child is ready to make those decisions at 17, personally. Let's go to the comments. I see we got some comments. Elisa said, I think Wade is being supportive, but he's not being protective. That's kind of like where I'm at. So, okay, you're supporting your child, you're going to love your children, but maybe he's not being protective of his child. I think that's the way I'm leaning. Herman said, yes, Juan, the internet is a scary place and does not help, especially with young people. My mom would have said, who did that? That ain't none of your business, mama. That's funny. Lana said, his daughter may not be gay, but she understands the difference between boys and girls, and she knows she is a girl. 5-year-olds know they are a girl or a boy. I wouldn't say I agree per se, but once again, that parent, that's his household, that's how he decides to raise his children. I'm not going to tell him he's wrong or right, because I'm not going to have somebody tell me I'm wrong or right on how I decide to raise my children. But I do know one thing, it is a federal law to give your children sex, right? There's like a thing called what they call statutory rape. So a child can't be having sex as a kid. Sorry, we can't excuse that one. Herman said, first time hearing of this one, son, laugh out loud, that's funny. And then Lana said, I don't think he introduced it, but I don't live there. And once again, when I talk about introducing sex, I'm talking about, I think from the standpoint of Lisa's saying, like being protective. All right, your son decides he likes men. All right, whatever. That's between you and your household. But it's not appropriate to be running around in booty shorts and a halter top at a certain age. I mean, I don't want my daughter doing that. And I think at some point as parents, we need to be protective. Okay, just because your son says, or your daughter, I want to enter the gay lifestyle, does that mean you start letting them watch gay sex at the age of 12 and 13 because they say that's how they identify. You're still shielding them as a parent. You want to shield them from sex. Okay, so what? They said they're attracted to the boy down the street. But once again, you don't encourage their choice through the lens of introducing sex to them, meaning you're allowing them to go to these adult-themed parades. You know, it's one thing to be like, there's a pride parade, but there's some that are, I guess, quote-unquote, family-friendly, and there are some that are more adult-themed. And if people are dressed salaciously and they're enacting sexual acts, I don't want my child around that. No different than I don't want my child at the club seeing grown women and men bumping grind. You don't introduce a certain level of sex to a child, period. Has nothing to do with that child's choice to how they want to live, or you as a household deciding how you'll allow each other to live. But there's certain things kids don't need to see. Kids don't need to see grown folks having sex, period, whether it's gay sex or straight sex. They just don't need to see that at an early age. All right, I think that's the kind of thing that we wanted to touch on. Herman said, yes, Juan, let our children be children. The age is innocence is important for young children's growth and development. Yeah, I just think that there's other things your kids can be focused on, or our youth should be focused on, before trying to handle or rationalize sex. And I think, I don't know, I just think that we're moving so fast in society. We're trying to be fair to people's choices, but in the process, I think we're doing dangerous things that are not protective of our children. Last thought, Lana said, I think if a kid expires curiosity, expresses curiosities to you verbally, communicate to them as a means to understand, not show them. Yeah, I can see that. You know, you should definitely have communication with your child and be able to, at least at best, I don't know, I guess you're trying to move the conversation in such a way to where you're just trying to gain understanding. But yeah, you don't do what Boosie did and pay for someone to give your son fellatio. That's just absurd. No parent does that. I never at once in my parents raised me a certain way to a Christian lifestyle, right? But in the process of them desiring me to be a certain way as a man, they never said go out and go kiss a girl, go grab a girl's behind. That wasn't their answer to them trying to raise me a certain way, because that would have been non-protective. You get what I'm saying? Lana has another thought. I think we limit kids because we have difficulty explaining or answering their questions. If I've never been on this planet before, of course, I have questions. Yeah, and I think that we should, as parents, be able to have open and broader conversations. And there's a way to lead that conversation that can be protective and one that doesn't offer overexposure. Let's get out to some shout outs. We're close to end of time. So let's get to some shout outs real quick. Shout out graduates again. We'll be shouting out the graduates all month. We know people are doing like virtual graduations and things of that nature. So shout out to all of you graduating. Once again, want to shout out those on Memorial Day. Anybody who has lost someone due to war or someone in services to their country via the military. We salute you. We honor those heroes today. And then last but not least, we want to celebrate happy birthday to Jonine Ford. Jonine just turned 40 today. We had a chance to celebrate her in the park, practicing social distancing, and that was cool. Definitely want to leave you guys with a jam. I've discovered this one young lady, Marie Dahlstrom from Canada. She's dope. She is honestly dope. I've been enjoying her whole album. Album is called Like Sand. And she has a song on here called I Want You by Elijah Fox. And we're going to end on that. Lana said, shout out at Cat Purple Lip. And then Lana said, shout out Taboo. Yes, we will be probably playing Taboo again the third Sunday in June. All right. And then also, Lana, reach out to Katrina and give her your address so we can send Chris his gift for winning our last Black Trivia night. Lana McKinney said, let's talk about Insecure next week and break down Molly and Issa. Oh, if you haven't seen it yet, check out Katrina on the Soapbox. She's actually talking about friendships and using Insecure as the, I guess, the thing that inspired part of the conversation. So check that out if you haven't on all of our various outlets. We're about to run out of time on IG. Once again, thank everybody for joining. If you don't know, this is Marie Dahlstrom. The song is I Want You. The album is Like Sand. Thank you all for joining. We're the Nitty Gritty Show, and we're out. Thank you, everyone. Bye, IG. See you later, YouTube. Facebook. We are out.